Hello everyone, Loki and I are out for our evening walk. It's autumn here in the UK and you can see the path is covered in fallen leaves. Isn't that spectacular? So we've had a lot of discussion one way or another this month about Brahms and Tchaikovsky. This partly comes out of a serialization of extracts from Tchaikovsky's diary about the meeting of the two great composers in 1888. And of course it's led inevitably to a lot of discussion about which composer you prefer. Some people of course prefer Brahms, others prefer Tchaikovsky, so it becomes, as often with these things, a slightly polarized thing, which is fine. We all have our preferences. My personal view is that I couldn't put a cigarette paper between them in terms of caliber. They are, both of them, exceptional artists. It's not possible to make a decision about who is better, because there's no such thing as better. What there is different expressions of artistic excellence in very different cultural contexts. Brahms and Tchaikovsky both represented a version of late Romanticism. Brahms from a classical German perspective, a profoundly romantic composer, I think, at heart, but constrained by essentially classical conception of form, classical conception of harmonic relationships, and a classical conception of genre. And actually, to some extent, a classical notion of what an orchestra should do. But it's not to say that Brahms's style is classical. And he manages, within these marvellous classical constraints that he imposes on himself, to create really rather radical things. And this is the thing that Schoenberg admired so much about him. Tchaikovsky, on the other hand, but I've had a few comments saying that he was a composer who could write wonderful melodies, but was inept when it came to form. It simply isn't true. Tchaikovsky was an absolute master of form. It's just that because he was a Russian composer, he came at form, classical form, from a very different perspective. Not from inside the German tradition, but from outside. And so when he wrote a symphonic structure like the first movement of his wonderful, wonderful Sixth Symphony, the Pathétique, he reinvents sonata form in a sort of two-part structure. It's quite extraordinary, the first part being full of these magnificent themes, and the second half, beginning at the development section, being a terrifying whirlwind of drama. It's almost like two acts of a play. It's a magnificently novel-like conception of form, and it's flawless. I would say it's a perfect structure.